The jump. I dug through my closet and discovered the golf shirt my dad got me with the school emblem. I might as well dress up if I was going to go. There were 300 alumni, coaches, and staff members anticipated, therefore the celebration was held at the local convention hall. As I waited in line to register, I was bored and staring at the floor when I noticed a stunning pair of legs go by. Over the previous 4 years, I have witnessed a lot of co-ed legs. Getting to actually spend a few special moments in between some of those legs. These new legs, slim, tanned, and athletic, seemed exceptional to me. I was so fixated on those legs that I failed to notice who they belonged to. My objective was to meet that girl and ask her out. I hope I didn't come across as too much of a pervert when I was glancing at people's legs and ignoring them. My friends pulled me over to our table when they noticed me acting as though I had misplaced my pet rabbit. I should have been staring toward the stage rather than the shoes of others surrounding me. I watched those stunning legs as they deftly made their way up the steps, dropped a piece of paper for the chairman, and scampering down, they vanished into the crowd. I wanted to run over to where she'd disappeared, but someone called dinner to order and asked for a prayer. As I searched for her, I was the last one to sit down in the conference center. My friends were starting to worry about my behavior by this point. When I informed them I'd seen a woman I wished to meet, they laughed heartily. They gave me a back pat and said they would search for her as well when I informed them about her legs. Instead of introducing herself to me, they should ask her out. They are some friends. My intention was to inquire about the name of the girl wearing the short blue and gold outfit and then submit a little check to the Alumni Association. The problem was that half of the women were dressed in the blue and gold of the school. As we left to see her, it was too crowded, so we proceeded to the home of another alumnus, Sam Holloway. Sam and Sarah lived 15 minutes away from the convention center in a lovely home with a large backyard. We went to thank our host after Sam gave us a keg of beer. We took full red Solo glasses. The girl with the legs was there, conversing with Sarah. As I approached, my enigmatic partner grinned and said, "Hello, Nick." How on earth could she recognize my name? I stumbled over something close to "Hello, how are you?" She added, "You don't remember me, do you?" with a charming smile. Fumbling, I replied, "I really should know you. I really should know you. However, I can't remember meeting you. I'm sure I'd remember a girl like you if I were introduced. Nick, don't you remember the time I looked right at you, smiled, and blew you a kiss? Were my friends setting up some sort of trap or ambush? Friends who were aware of my crush on this girl?" I responded, "I doubt that would have happened and me not remember it." The anonymous girl said, "I'll bet you that I have proof of that happening. If I can't prove it to you, then I'll buy you a steak dinner at Capitol Grill. If you lose, you will take me to the best seafood restaurant in town, then go dancing." Laughing, I replied, "That's a bet I can take. I win either way, but I don't think there is proof." A crowd had gathered as a result of our conversation, and they were crushing the challengers. She asked, "Can I borrow your last yearbook?" Turning to face Sarah. With a smile, Sarah entered her home and removed a bulky yearbook. She appeared to know where this was headed even as she turned the pages. "No name yet?" asked. "What do you see?" As she held the page open for me, "I see the back of the heads of our fraternity guys at a football game. There was a male cheerleader with a female cheerleader on his shoulder." "What's the female cheerleader doing, Nick?" "Oh shit, she's blowing a kiss to us," she said quietly. "Not to all of you guys, Nick, just you. See who I am looking at." My voice rose when I added, "Guys, this is Flipper. I've watched you every game we had, hoping one day your panties would split open. That's why we came to the game. Not to see us lose, but to see you." The entire group, including Flipper, burst out laughing. Sarah inquired, "Why did you nickname her Flipper? Was it related to the TV episodes about a dolphin when we were youngsters that was named Flipper?" "No," replied Sam. "It was as a result of someone constantly throwing her into the air. She was the flyer on the cheer squad because she was the smallest cheerleader and, of course, the finest gymnast." Grinning broadly, I conceded that I had lost the wager, but I think I may have made the best choice of my youth. Turning to face the victor, I said, "I would be happy to take you out to dinner and dancing if I could get your name and address. The earlier, the better. I'm Amy Fisher and here is my business card with my phone and email addresses." I said, "Nice to meet you, Ms. Fisher," with all due decorum. "Greetings, I'm Nick Ballard, and I'm excited for our evening together. Is it convenient for you to have supper with me on Saturday night?" "Why, yes, I would." The next few hours were spent laughing and getting to know each other with friends Amy and I had in common. I was so impressed with this pixie girl with a sunshine smile that Saturday night couldn't come soon enough. I arrived at Amy's apartment 10 minutes early and discovered she had already finished getting dressed when I rang her doorbell. Her 5'0" height was elevated by 2-inch heels as she fitted her 100-pound athletic body into a tight short dress that showed off the perfect ratio, waist, and hips on her short frame. I was so engrossed in learning everything there was to know about this woman that I forgot about the food we had eaten. She had trained in gymnastics since she was 8 years old. Her father was a modest but dedicated coach, and her bubbly, exuberant personality made her an excellent cheerleader, which enabled her to participate in a number of sports in which she would not have been able to otherwise. How did she know me was my main query for her. She looked down and mutely remarked, "Nick, we did have classes together, but our bet was a setup the other night by Sam and Sarah to get us together. We had several classes together, both in business and marketing. I hope I didn't insult you and that you don't mind." Offended, "I'm so happy with the setup I could kiss Sarah and maybe even Sam." We both chuckled and gave each other a brief hug. "I don't know where this is going, but I can't wait to see what the future brings us," I murmured, taking her hand in mine. "You caught my eye 4 years ago and I finally have my chance to be with you," she remarked, staring directly into my eyes. Amy had a marketing degree and had worked for Mid-America Marketing since she graduated. Her professional yet friendly demeanor made her an invaluable asset to the company as a marketing specialist. She was the one who presented and sold the client's marketing plan, even though other staff members assisted in its creation. The walk from my parked car to her apartment was a mixture of feelings: joy for the time we had together and may have in the future, sadness that the date was coming to an end. We had our arms around each other as we walked to her door. After dinner, we went dancing, and I got the chance to hold her close, very close. So close that she noticed, smiled, and whispered in my ear, "This is becoming fun. Would you like to come in?" Amy inquired. "Just to make sure there's not another man hiding in there, give it a few minutes. It still amazes me that there isn't a waiting list to date a woman as attractive as you." "I do have that list, and you're at the top," she added, laughing. "I'll make an effort to stay at the top by going on dates with you every night. What plans do you have for tomorrow afternoon?" "There should be plenty of activities outside for us to enjoy given the lovely weather." She quickly retorted, "Nick, please, come with me on a picnic. When you pick me up, we can go grocery shopping." "I can't wait for tomorrow," I replied, placing my hands on her shoulders. "Please give me a kiss that will last until Sunday afternoon." "That was the best kiss I've ever had," she said, opening her mouth wide and forcing me to back off. I turned and headed to the door, saying, "I'll see you tomorrow." Her smile shone brighter than the full moon outside. Since we hadn't decided to label ourselves as exclusive, there were evenings when Amy went on dates with other guys. She was honest about this, so there were no misunderstandings or hard feelings, and she laughed when she told me she was turning down dates from guys she had already gone out with. Over the course of the following month, Amy and I were able to get together as often as our schedules permitted. Amy gave me the cutesy smile I loved when I told her that my apartment was free that weekend, and as she looked at her cell phone calendar, she tried to sound very businesslike as she said, "So should I clear my calendar for the whole weekend or just set a night?" The more time we spent together, the greater the passion as we parted for the evening. It was perfect timing when my roommate Caleb went home for his father's birthday. "I'm going to keep you occupied and laughing starting at 5 p.m. on Friday and going until early Monday morning. Unless you have other plans, that is." "Oh, I have plans for you," she smiled. "Indeed, I do. I thought we were spending the weekend without clothes," I asked her when she entered my car on Friday night with an overnight bag. She grinned and said, "We'll see." We had drinks and hamburgers with some friends, enjoyed some jazz music, and then begged off from the others to start the weekend early. I had taken Friday afternoon off to clean and scrub the boar's nest that two single guys could make without feminine direction. I had an assortment of music available. I didn't know what her favorite songs were for bonding, but I surprised myself by actually cleaning the shower. I don't know what more a 24-year-old single guy could do, but I'll find out by Monday morning. Fresh sheets were on the bed with a second set ready for set a night. Candles were strategically placed and the alarm clock was unplugged and put away. Amy replied, "This looks and smells amazing," as soon as she walked into my apartment. "Caleb doesn't clean your house, is I right?" I grinned and added, "I'm trying to impress the panties off of a very special lady this weekend. Thought I'd need to be on my A game. You've impressed me so far, but not enough to get my panties off. What else have you got?" I wrapped my arm around her and we began a slow, passionate dance while I clicked on the gentle jazz music. After we had danced for a few songs, I bent down to give her a gentle kiss on the neck and in her hair. She shivered, I observed, as I did that. A slow, passionate kiss formed on her lips as a result of that shiver. I showed her to the couch and the chilled bottle of champagne. "A toast to what may be the first of many great evenings," I exclaimed after opening and pouring. "I'll drink to that," was her reply. We then shared a passionate kiss and she cuddled up to slip under my arm. After our second glass, I said, "Should we head to the bedroom?" "Absolutely." We undressed each other for 3 slow songs, and I was humming with happiness the entire time. You could call it dancing because we swayed to the music, and when the clothes melted off, we held hands and took a step back to admire each other. The only thing this angel was missing were her wings. My goal was to see how much groaning I could get out of her wonderful mouth by treating her nether region, and I couldn't wait another second to plant my flag in my newly discovered universe. At that point, I had no recollection and only the moment mattered. I asked her, "I hope you're happy so far with the weekend," as we lay in bed together with the east curtains open to the rising sun. "I am certain that you are an amazing partner. The lyrics of the song state, 'You make loving fun.' So where do we go from here? I'm delighted with our relationship as it is now. How about you?" she asked, laughing and placing a gentle palm on my naked chest. Within a few seconds I responded, "I feel closer to you than any other woman I have been with." I haven't dated anyone else since we were at the alumni event. You are the only one I wanted to see. Amy said, I have had a couple of dates since we got together, but I haven't had slept with anyone else. She laughed and responded, does this mean we're exclusive and not going out with others? Saying with great happiness, I hope so. That'd make me very happy. We then turned around and resumed our love for one another. We were happy to think of ourselves as exclusive. We went back to lying in bed and chatted about each other after approximately an hour. I said, you don't have to tell me, but how many guys have you had slept with? That's if you want to tell me. I'll tell you, Nick, if you don't get jealous. Okay, to put it in a sporting context, I have had slept with a baseball team. So that means 9. How many home run hitters did your team have on the roster? I raised an eyebrow. She grinned and added, only 3 home run hitters. There were 3 guys that had singles and doubles. The last 3 either struck out or just dribbled a hit back to the pitcher for a quick and quiet out. Did you have any double plays with your team? No, but we did have to go extra innings several times. She went on, all right, now that you know my magic number, how many bedmates have you at Studley? I said, I'll use the days of the week comparison, as 4 were just Friday nighters, 5 Saturday night girls, but they were gone before breakfast Sunday. The remaining 6 were at least from Friday night to Monday morning. But so far you are the best. After that, we began tickling each other, which turned into us touching each other with our fingers to make our lover smile rather than laugh. I was trying to draw a parallel with Amy. Amy was quite skilled at dancing, which was one of her favorite pastimes. When we went out, she was definitely attracting the interest of men. She attempted to hide her amazing butt as she swirled about while dancing in a short skirt that flipped up, and males who were eager to see what was behind that skirt were tortured by that. We discussed my potential jealousy of her dancing at a club with other males and came up with some ground rules. For the duration of the evening, no more than 10 songs with any one guy. That should prevent you from becoming very friendly with any one guy. One major rule was that she had to ditch her partner and join me for a dance anytime there was a slow, romantic song. She could still complete her 10 songs with a different partner, but for obvious reasons, I was the one who did all the slow dances. She occasionally didn't even need a partner. If the music fit, she would go down on the floor and start dancing. Every other dancer would get off the floor to watch her perform a series of intricate dance sequences taught by her cheerleading coach. She liked to do a wide-legged provocative pelvic thrust while staring at me. One time, I was standing by our table and she ran toward me as the audience applauded an extremely athletic and sexy dancing routine. Her joyful expression gave me the impression that I knew exactly what she would do, and she did. She sprang as she approached me, threw her legs around my waist, and landed a lustful, big kiss on my lips. We were unaffected by the cheers, claps, and laughter of the audience. People were pointing at us and giggling as we broke our kiss. Amy appeared to be familiar with all the people in the club scene. The club within the Hilton Inn was her favorite. A large, scowling black man moved to stand in front of us after I paid our cover charge. Amy leaped up to give Francis a hug and a peck on the cheek after squealing, Francis, good to see you. Nick, this is Francis, my greatest friend. Francis was a star defensive tackle for the blue and gold, and we spent many miles on buses traveling to the football games. He's the laziest bouncer in town. He never throws anyone out. They leave as soon as he warns them, get the hell out or I'll mess you up. Francis, this is my newest and best boyfriend, Nick Ballard. As we shook hands, Francis grinned as large as his enormous paw and said, call me Rock. Amy is the only one I let call me my given name of Francis. My pathetic response was, you got it, Rock. Amy exclaimed, tell your wife Cassandra and the boys hi and I love them for me, as we passed this enormous man. Another time, when we were out dancing, her more so than me, we had an uncomfortable situation. Part of the evening had been spent dancing with multiple guys and also dancing alone when a well-dressed man approached our table at the beginning of a slow song. He was very conscious of his expensive shoes, clothes, and jewelry. He approached Amy directly and held out his hand. I looked at her, wondering if she knew him, but she seemed to be in a trance, not aware of me or anything around us. She began to get up from the table, but her eyes were fixed on him. I touched her arm, startling her. Oh, I see now. I promised my boyfriend this dance. Mr. Slick turned to go. She turned to face me, looking afraid, so I got up quickly, took her hand, and led her to the dance floor, asking, who was that? She answered feebly, I'm not sure, though I don't recall ever seeing him. His look was so close and personal. It reminded me of a mesmerizing vibe. Gave me a bad feeling when I tingled. I appreciate you saving my life. We never really talked about this again. After the song ended, she said she had to go to the restroom. I followed her and waited for her outside the door. When she returned, she said, can we go home now? We decided it would be a good idea to meet each other's parents 6 months later. Her mother was roughly Amy's height and build. She had an older sister named Clara but no brothers. After Amy was born, her mother had to get a hysterectomy to stop having any more children. Her father was a 6-foot-tall former professional baseball player who turned motivational speaker and sports coach after his playing days. He wanted a son to experience the glory days of sports, but instead he got a small cheerleader. He loved his little girl and attended all of her dance recitals and gymnastics, studying both from an athletic perspective. Amy had a hard-working but loving coach in him. A year later, Amy and I were married in a smallish wedding, but the supper and dance that followed were spectacular. Surrounded by all of her friends and fellow cheerleaders, the wedding dance had the atmosphere of a pep rally, and Amy looked stunning in her wedding gown. Amy's favorite songs to dance to were prepared by the DJ. After dinner, we had our first dance as husband and wife, which was one of the few occasions I got to dance with her that evening. Several of her football and basketball friends as well as her male cheerleader friends wanted to dance, and when she danced with 6 feet 9 inches basketball player Anton, everyone laughed because her mouth was barely higher than his belt. While she was dancing, I had the opportunity to spend time with my family and hers. Rock and Cassandra were there with their 2 boys, and I spoke with Rock about sports for a bit while Cassandra danced with the boys. The slow dance that the bride and the guys did after they put cash in her purse seemed to go on forever. Cassandra and I laughed when we saw little Amy dancing with the big Rock. She was unable to put her arms around him, and as he wrapped them around her, she vanished beneath his enormous limbs. She kissed each guy quickly. Many attempted to make it longer, but Amy handled it wonderfully. Some of the guys' dance took too long and held her too close for my comfort, but this was a one-time thing. The dance ended early in the morning, as all good things do, and Amy and I thanked everyone for coming and wished them safe travels home. We spent the weekend in the Hilton honeymoon suite, and when we crawled into our married bed, we cuddled and loved each other until we fell asleep. We didn't bond that night, but we made up for it the following morning, before we had to head to our parents' for brunch. The following 7 years were fantastic for the 2 of us. That is, until there were 4 of us, a girl named Chelsea and a boy named Kevin. After that, things became even better. I was snipped so Amy wouldn't have to take birth control pills. With pay raises, improved health, a new house, and stronger bonds, Amy had become a senior marketer, and I had a solid portfolio of accounting and business management customers. We were both still employed by the same companies. Amy provided pro gratis and sometimes for hire marketing assistance to the local Chamber of Commerce. She had made arrangements for Leland Cobb, an investment guru who was becoming well known across the country for his extraordinary ability to identify the greatest stocks and sectors to invest in, to give a speech at the annual meeting. My spouse was the one who met him at the airport and arranged for his appearance. He was really personable and gorgeous, even in the press images she had obtained. I wasn't sure if I would be able to return in time for the annual meeting because I was out of town on business. I parked my Subaru Forester in covered parking at the airport because snow was predicted for the coming week. Several chamber members, including Amy, had drinks in Cobb's room before the meal. Amy was flattered that a woman with 2 children would catch Cobb's attention, and he paid close attention to her. He made sure she was seated at the head table beside him. The chairman issued a weather advisory warning of the significant snowfall forecast that evening just before the meeting began. Amy made the decision that Midwest Marketing would cover her hotel that evening because she was aware that she had obligations both before and after the event. Her bright red Mazda MX-5 was also not very good in the snow. She texted me after making her reservation to let me know that she would be staying at the Hilton if I made it home. Cobb would place his hand on her arm as the evening went on and chatted to her. He would then either touch her thigh or shoulder from there. He would postpone the thigh play for a few minutes at first because she would softly push his hand away before pushing again. When she finally gave up, she let his hand to rest just above her knee, but she continued to hold her hand there to prevent the crawling hands from moving any closer. Cobb made a purposeful and powerful presentation. With the profits to prove it, he was certain that he was correct. The presentation he was giving had the entire crowd enthralled. The bars opened and a little band began playing as soon as the conference was over. He took Amy by the hand and led her to the dance floor as soon as he heard the music. He merely dragged her along, made no invitation or request. Amy had finally discovered her true love, a dance partner who was proficient in all the moves and exuded confidence. She was impressed by his self-assurance and his skills. Cobb was imposing and no other person dared to follow him, so he got all of her dances. While they weren't dancing, Cobb was purchasing wine bottles. Not the names from the cash bar that was set up for the gathering, but rather the fine wines from the Hilton wine cellar. "Nick, Amy's here and having too much fun, spending too much time with some slick guy. You want me to step in and separate them?" was what Rock said when she called me after she witnessed Cobb making out with Amy. "Thanks for texting me, Rock. I really appreciate you looking after her. My plane just landed and I'll be there in 20-30 minutes. After enjoying some private dancing and drinking, Amy realized it was time to check into her hotel. She told Cobb she was heading to her room, which was a mistake. What happened was that she should have texted goodnight from her hotel room, hiding behind the door while she went to use the restroom. Amy returned to the dance floor to bid Cobb adieu. With a smile, he added, "I guess it's late, let me walk you to your room." He then wrapped Amy's arm around his shoulder, grabbed a full bottle of wine, and headed to the hotel. Walking between his arm and his chest, Amy could sense the strength and manliness. Cobb pushed another full glass to Amy and celebrated her gorgeous legs and her ability to dance like a movie star. Amy attempted to open the door just wide enough so that only she could pass through, but Cobb allowed himself into the room under the pretense that we need wine glasses. Amy experienced the same kind of hypnosis that she had some years prior, a sensation she knew was there yet was unable to shake from her mind. Cobb's arm around her waist and drawing her in closer, but she was unable to react. Though frozen, he could still move, but only in Cobb's directions. By now I was walking inside the Hilton, where I met Rock, having parked my car at the far end of the snowy lot. I looked at the people still partying in the pub, then I asked Rock, "Where is she? I don't see her." We hurried to the registration desk where I told the attendant that I was Nick Ballard, husband of Amy Ballard, and would like a room key. Rock quickly said, "I had a lady with a heart problem and went to take care of her. She must have left then. She told me she had her own room, so let's get you a room key. I've attached my driver's license as proof of our marriage." I was given a key and the room number. I thanked Rock and made my way to the room. Rock responded, "I can vouch for him as he and Amy are friends of my wife and I." As soon as I entered her room, I heard a deep male voice snarling and say. I opened the door slowly and paused as I saw Amy up in the air. I moved like I was swinging a golf club, taking 3 fast steps to get to the bed. I didn't strike any thighs, it was just a pure swing. Gasping for air, the arm tumbled off the bed with a massive bang. "Nick, I truly apologize. I'm not sure what got to me. I feel very embarrassed. Pardon me, please. I am at a loss for words. I truly apologize. Take me home, please, and get me out of here. I'm unable to attend." The two adulterers let out a duet of shouting, crying, and sobbing, and Amy cried out, "Please take me home. If you will pardon me, I will do anything for the rest of my life. I'll always be devoted to you. Never again will I allow this to happen to me. Kindly welcome me back. I'll exert all necessary effort. I beg you, please." I felt sad for her, in spite of what I had just witnessed. She was crying and whining more than she had when her beloved grandfather had passed away, and although her grief was genuine, I still couldn't accept this. I wanted to offer Amy an option, so I told her, "I'm going home now. I need to get out of there. I could get sued and arrested. Come on, if you want to go home with me. You are welcome to stay and try to convince Romeo to give you another chance. It doesn't concern me. Therefore, decide quickly. I will tally to 3. It's time for me to go. I want to go home with you," she sobbed. "Allow me to put on my clothes." "No, I am leaving now." We rode in silence save from her pathetic moans. Then she turned to face me and said, "Thank you for taking me home with you and turning on my seat heater. I don't deserve it or a good husband like you." At that point, her sobbing got so bad that I thought she was going to pass out. I extended my hand to comfort her, then withdrew and returned my hand to the steering wheel. Together, we entered a chilly, gloomy house. She raced to the gas fireplace and turned it on as I removed my shoes and coat. As I approached the cozy fire, she firmly grasped me, clasping her hands behind me, and broke down in tears once more. She wouldn't let go even when I tried to push her away. "Where do we go from here?" she questioned, holding the Afghan as a tissue. "I don't know where we end up, but right now you are going to go upstairs and scrub yourself," I replied, pushing her back. Amy was trying, without success, to purge herself of infidelity, and I could hear the roar of the hot water heater in the quiet house. 45 minutes later, she crept downstairs to sit at my feet, placing her head on my knees, acting as though she wanted to be in my lap, but I moved so she couldn't be that close. "I'm very sorry this happened, Nick. I will take any action you request in order to lessen your pain. If you need me to leave you and the kids, I will. I just don't know what I wouldn't do to bring us back to happiness. How I managed to sleep him is still beyond me. I didn't seem to have a will of my own. That's not me trying to justify my shameful behavior. I'm willing to accept responsibility. I simply don't know how I could have injured the man I adore so deeply. Kindly let me know what you need from me to improve our relationship or your quality of life. Amy, you need to spend some time sleeping in the guest bedroom. The obvious things need to be taken care of first. I was having so much difficulty breathing. I simply couldn't bear to be with you at this moment. We can give the kids to my parents for another day and call them. I'm sure they won't object. We'll go retrieve your automobile tomorrow so you can visit the county clinic to get an STD test." I only gave her the test requirement to further humiliate her because I knew it wouldn't be accurate until at least 14 days following sexual relations. When she heard that, she cried and exclaimed, "Oh no." Returning to my lovely house and family, I carry with me another terrible plague. Nick, I'm no good at all. Not a good wife, mother, or person in general. Just another unclean woman destroying my life and the lives of others. I'm not sure why she was crying so much. Had she had another large glass of water? Not because I would sleep, but more to avoid her. I said, "It's been a terrible day. I'm going to bed." "Okay, please remember that I love you more tonight than I did last night," Amy quietly said. "Thanks for the demonstration of what you consider love for me." I yelled. She bowed her head and said, "Thank you for driving me home. I truly apologize. Nightmares kept us from getting a good night's sleep." The following morning, I opened the bedroom door to the smell of my favorite breakfast, bacon and eggs. Amy was wearing yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt when I walked into the kitchen, and I was really relieved that she wasn't trying to win my favor again by cooking while hanging out in only a thin white t-shirt. After we said our serious goodbyes, I poured myself a cup of coffee and took a seat. Neither of us wanted to get into a conversation because we knew where it would end. Amy placed the plate containing the extra crispy bacon and the over-easy eggs in front of me and turned to face me. She patted me on the shoulder and was grateful that I didn't recoil. Breaking the ice, I stated, "You'll have to take my car for your morning STD errand as there's still too much snow to drive yours." The only thing she could manage to say was okay. I went on, "Do you want to attend a marriage counselor or file for divorce right now? It is best to seek a marriage counselor as soon as possible. If you would let me remain your wife, that is. Amy, while you are away, I will set up a meeting. What time works best for you? There is nothing more crucial than moving past this at this moment. For this appointment, I will reschedule or cancel anything I have to do at work." Rock texted me to report that the speaker from yesterday night's chamber meeting was robbed in the motel corridor and was unable to identify or see his assailant. After the kids went to bed 3 days later, Amy gave me the county clinic's negative STD report. "Thanks, that's good news," I said. "I guess we ought to have given you one of those morning after pills as well." I completed that while driving home from the county clinic. She did not tell me that she went back to her hotel room and retrieved some of her belongings, including her briefcase. She left the gorgeous $400 dress on the floor because it would be too traumatic for either of us to see it ever again. In addition, I was told to return in 2 weeks for a more accurate STD test. We did everything we could to reassure the kids that nothing was seriously wrong or that it had anything to do with them. But the kids knew something was wrong in the house because they had witnessed their friend's parents' divorce and the trauma that went along with it. And Mom was sleeping in the guest room and was not as ebullient and happy when they got home from school. When asked how they would respond to a cheating wife, a few of my close friends said that Amy didn't exhibit any of the telltale signs of a woman sleeping with a boyfriend. She didn't make mean, snarky, or disparaging remarks to me or about me. She seemed content in our relationship. There were no texts or phone calls that were whispered. She didn't come home from work, the gym, or a girl's night out and run to the shower. She never vanished for hours on end. Our marriage counselor left us feeling extremely let down. The first session was merely informational, asking each of us what we wanted to happen in our marriage. The third appointment was when we really got down to business, disclosing specifics about her affair. I was asked a dumb question by the counselor: "How do you feel about Amy sleeping with someone else?" Perhaps there was a frown on my face before I snapped. "What the hell do you think I thought about it? If not to mend the terrible chasm that separates us, then why are we here?" My need for a marriage counselor would disappear if I was a willing cuckold. Jez, my life has been ruined by the woman I loved and respected the most. I have 20 marriage counseling sessions a week, 50 weeks a year, and I am one of many marriage counselors in this town, she stated, her expression solemn. Nearly all of our sessions deal with adultery and the potential breakdown of a marriage. This is the easiest one I've dealt with so far. She cheated, expressed regret, and expressed a desire to stay married. No years-long planned affair, no bonding with your boss or pals, and no humiliation in front of others. A one-time, excessively intoxicated tryst with a guy from out of town. In this town, 1,000 ladies get wasted every night and end up getting screwed. Frequently, it's not their partner, but occasionally it is. This is how things have been for hundreds of years. I would want to suggest something to you. Simply move forward. I believe her when she swears she won't do it again, even though she screwed someone else. Your frail masculine ego is the only thing that seems hurt in this situation. Divorce will only add 2 more children to the pot of hopelessness and confusion that will ruin both of your life and the lives of your children. Get a divorce if you want to live a life of severe depression. If not, resolve your differences amicably. I believe the only thing I can do for you now is to heed that counsel. My jaws were clenched the whole way to my car because I was so furious with her comments and conclusion that I couldn't wait to leave. Unexpectedly, Amy expressed her dissatisfaction with our meetings as well, saying, "I wish we could go back to our previous location, but these sessions don't explain my actions. I'll never do it again because I want an explanation." Her response pleased and grateful me. After some investigation, Amy discovered Dr. Mary Martin, a psychotherapist with a focus on behavioral issues, whose website noted that she was unrelated to the divorce court and that her services included marital concerns that were not to be confused with marriage counseling. It was time for Dr. Martin to make some conclusions, so after 2 joint sessions and 2 separate sessions, she asked Amy, "Please tell me about the 3 best events you've had, excluding Nick of course." Not wishing to further damage my already damaged ego, Amy paused before speaking, saying, "They were all tall, athletic, well-groomed, professional, skilled dancers, and they told me they were going to sleep me that night." "Apologies, Nick. Does this description also include Mr. Cobb?" said Dr. Martin once more. Amy answered yes as we exchanged a glance. Dr. Martin questioned me. "Nick, you told me about Amy being amazed by a man who wanted to dance with her back before you were married. Did that man match her description of his physical attributes? Yes, was my answer. Dr. Martin spoke once more. Nick, I asked Amy to bring me her most recent 3 work-related employee assessments. They were, as you may know, rather complimentary of Amy and her evident accomplishments. There was, nevertheless, one area that needed improvement on all 3 assessments. She unilaterally reduced the price or enhanced the services to the point that the company's profitability was impacted because she was so anxious to satisfy her client. Dr. Martin turned to face me. I would like to ask you 2 questions because you are the only one of Amy's boyfriends that I have access to. Since the beginning of your relationship, Nick, have you thought of Amy as a giver when you've shared a bed with her? And does she prioritize your approval over her own? Could you cite an instance? Yes, and yes, she does want to give more, I answered. As an illustration, she never allows me to fall on her without reciprocating the favor. Amy and I were staring at each other when Dr. Martin spoke. We seemed to see an apparent pattern in her behavior during certain events. Now, I want the 2 of you to hold hands. This is to remind you not to say a thing until I get done giving you my diagnosis of Amy's behavior. I know you'll want to say something, but wait until I finish. Okay. Yes, they were, every single one of them, both with Cobb and several other times prior to being with Nick, Amy answered after giving it some thought. When I said, then why didn't you go into this trance with me on our first date? What characteristic do I lack? You were a wonderful gentleman with me. Amy grinned at me, and you purposefully left my flat even after I hinted you may stay. Why? I smiled and added, I like that thought. Now that I know what both of you really want out of these sessions, I can hopefully provide a mechanism to accomplish your goal, Dr. Martin stated, shaking his head. I believe that cognitive behavior therapy will be useful in this case. I strive to alter your behavioral habits, that's what I do. I want you to be aware of a possible issue before you take overt action to address it. My main area of expertise is quitting drinking and smoking with my clients. I get them to focus on something else in order to divert their attention from smoking or drinking. You have undoubtedly witnessed smokers wearing rubber bands around their wrists, which they break whenever they feel like having a cigarette. Here's an illustration of CBT. She went on, make sure you have people who can relate to your situation if you go dancing without Nick. Like Nick did many years ago, they can assist in waking up the trance with a gentle touch. Could you list some tastes that you detest the most, Amy? Dirty martini with lots of green olives, was my suggestion as soon as I spoke. I had one once during dinner, and Amy refused to even kiss me because of the taste or fragrance of the green olives. Perfect, you can be at a bar, a dance, or a party, but keep a dirty martini at the table, one with plenty of green olives, commented Dr. Martin, expressing his approval of the idea. Eat an olive or take a drink if an alpha male approaches you to dance. You will be grounded by the shock. Your attention is diverted from the dominant man to the awful taste in your mouth. Nick, from what I gather, Amy feels you're a great husband and lover, Dr. Martin remarked, glancing at me. But it's evident that she transforms into a subservient woman when all 4 triggers are pulled. I'd advise you to take on the persona of an assertive alpha male on occasion. That's definitely not what I expected to hear from a psychiatrist. However, after giving that request some thought, I recalled her reaction when I had smacked her to get her to go upstairs. I responded, yes, I can do that on random occasions. My parents taught me to love, respect, and treat my wife like a princess, but I'll make an exception just for her. Then I grinned evilly at Amy, and she cheered up a lot. She went on, Amy, you need to have discussion with your supervisor about your willingness to give up profitability just so people will like you. You have a great personality. You don't need to purchase friendship or relationship by cheapening your work product. Be who you are, not someone who has bought those relationships. You can have another staff member with you to toe the line on pricing, or have your supervisor give you a written bottom line price and service. Are you okay with this? Amy was about to scream absolutely. Thank you so much for figuring out my problem. Nick is so important to me and I want to stay married to him forever. The 2 of us needed the entire house to ourselves, so we hurried the kids to my parents' place while Amy made dinner. Since her betrayal, we hadn't shared a bed or developed any kind of relationship. There was only a lamp in our bedroom and candles on the dining room table when I got back. She was setting the table wearing a white transparent negligee. I was instructed to change upstairs. On the bed was a bright red pair of silk boxers with no shirt on. We had an amazing evening and discovered a new depth of enjoyment in each other. We became aware of our vulnerability and need on one another. Amy didn't go trying to sleep with someone else or have a separate, covert, adulterous existence. She accepted full responsibility for her conduct and had never lied to me. We moved slowly upstairs, kissing, cuddling, and touching each other at every turn. I saw her body for the first time in weeks, eager and willing to change my life. We made love until the wee hours of the morning. Her return made me delighted. I was saddened by her situation. I had never seen her seem so hopeless as when she believed she had lost my love. There were other melancholics in that house besides her. It was too much for me to bear to consider our lives, our children, and our house being apart. I was overjoyed to learn the reasons for her cheating and how to stop it from happening in the future. Her one-time ailment seemed significant to me, but manageable. We managed to keep our family together by me holding on to the woman of my dreams. Amy was free to go dancing for the next few years without worrying that she would lose her life to another trance. Naturally, there were difficulties. Her attractiveness made her unavoidable. Both alpha and regular guys continued to ask her to dance in the hopes of developing a relationship with her. Her olives and olive juice served as her first line of defense. She was not going to slow dance with anyone but Nick. While staying at the Hilton, she had her own personal guard in case she didn't have any olives on hand. For about 10 years, Rock served as Aunt Amy's personal guard before other young men took over. During the summers that Rock was not attending college, his boys from Cassandra's marriage filled in for him. Her olive juice glass was empty one night, 3 months after her one and only affair, and Rock was not looking when a suave alpha man asked her to dance. She attempted to back off, but he persisted. She felt as though his dance skills carried her from her feet to her back and finally to her knees. Away from the security of her residence, he had her in his penthouse room, where they slept till she cried in desperation and humiliation. Nick was successful and the only alpha guy who had ever had another sexual relationship with Amy, thanks to his guidance from his dancing lessons. My comment: maybe she should grow up and stop hitting the clubs like she is 20, give up the alcohol and only go dancing when the husband is with her. She probably looks pathetic hanging alone at the clubs and wondering why guys think she is easy.